So here we have 4x plus 8 and you're required to factorize it completely. Before I go into the factorization, let me illustrate a step that will help you to understand the whole idea behind factorizing something completely. What you want to find is the highest common factor between 4 and 8. So let us first list all the factors of 4. So we would have 1, 2, and 4. Let's now list all the factors of 8. So we have 1, 2, 4, and 8. So you can see here that 4 is the highest common factor here. So we want the highest common factor. So that would be outside the bracket. So 4 is the highest common factor, so it's outside the bracket. Therefore, we have 4 times something which should give us 4x. That means we should have x here. And 4 times 2 here would give us 8. So our goal is to get exactly what we were given in the beginning, which is 4 times x here, which is 4x, and 4 times 2, that's 8. Now, what's the highest common factor between 6 and 24? It's 6. Therefore, we would factor out 6. 6 would be outside the bracket. So 6 times x here would give us 6x, and 6 times minus 4 would give us minus 24. So that's factorized completely. Let us examine another type of question. So here the highest common factor would be 2. So that would be outside the bracket. So 2 times x squared would give us 2x squared, and 2 times 2 here would give us 4. So that's completely factorized. What's the highest common factor of this? Well, the highest common factor of 6 and 18 here would be 6. So that would be the first one. And then we have x squared and x. The highest common factor here would be x. Or simplest way to put it is that if we put this to the 1, we choose a term always with the lowest power. So this here would be just x then, or x to the 1. So that's the highest common factor. We put that outside the bracket. So 6x times x here would give us 6x squared, and 6x times a minus 3 would give us an 18x. So that's completely factorized. Let's examine another type of question. Here the highest common factor is x, so that would be outside the bracket. So x times x here would be x squared, and x times 4 would be 4x. So that's completely factorized. The highest common factor of 2 and 6 here would be 2, and the highest common factor of x squared and x here would be x. So 2x times x here would give us 2x squared, and 2x times 3 would give us 6x. So that's completely factorized. Let's look at another question. So the highest common factor between 9 and 12 here would be 3. And then we have x and x squared. So the highest common factor, the term with the lowest power, so it's just x. Then we have y squared and y. The term with the lowest power here is just y. So 3xy would be the highest common factor of this expression. So that should be outside the bracket. So it means that we should have 3 times 3 here would be 9. So that should be a 3. We have x there, so we don't need an x. Y times y should be y squared, so we need a y here. Plus 3 times 4 would be 12. But we have an x squared here, so x times x here would be x squared. We have a y, so we don't need another y term here. So that would be the factorized expression. Now let us examine this one. The highest common factor between 8 and 12 would be 4. We have x squared and x here. So the highest common factor between these two would be x. And then we have y and y squared. So the lowest term here is just y, which is just 4xy. So 4xy is the highest common factor of this expression. Therefore, that should be outside the bracket. 4 times 3 would give us 12. And we have x squared here, so we need x times x here to give us the x squared. And then we have y, so that's fine. Plus 4 times 2 here would give us 8. We have an x here, so we have x, so we don't need another x on it. Y times y would be y squared, so we need a y here. So that's the factorized expression.